Alright, so let's do some sorting. So the data in a table is easier to work with and a lot more meaningful if the records are kind of in a sequential order and they're based on one or more fields. So arranging records in a certain sequence is called sorting. And data can be sorted in ascending order, which would be from lowest to highest or from A to Z. It can be done in descending order, which would be from highest to lowest or from Z to A. And when you sort, you're sorting fields based on what they call sort keys. And those are just the fields that you select to sort it by. So when you sort a table, all of the records in each row move together. So even if the selected cell is the same as the last name in a column, for example, the first name and all the data in the row is going to move with it. It's always a good idea to save a copy of your worksheet before you start doing a lot of sorts, just to be on the safe side in case something happens. And there are a couple different ways you can sort information in a table. And we'll look at some of those. So to start off with, I'm going to click cell B9, and then on my Home tab, over here on the side, I have a Sort and Filter button. I'm going to click it, and I'm going to choose Sort A to Z. And you can see everything shifts. And it's kind of a subtle shift, but it's there, it shifts when you do the Sort A to Z. And you can do other fields the same way. The only thing about sorting is you usually only sort this way, one field at a time. So just keep that in mind. I can move over to E9, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If I go to E9 and go to my Data tab, I have sort options here as well. Alright, so I'm going to click the largest to smallest option here. And you can see it resorts the whole thing based on that. And the sort that I did over here in B9 is no longer there. You'll notice that little icons show up on these arrows, so you can tell which ones are sorted when you're trying to determine what you're doing. Or if you can't remember what you sorted, then you just look for that little icon and you can figure it out. So it'll allow you to sort a maximum of 256 fields in a single sort. But you can also do a custom sort. And that just means that the records in the table will be arranged by one thing first and then another thing after that. So it requires a little bit more work to set it up. On my Home tab, I'm going to make sure my table is active, so that means I need to be somewhere in it. And I'm going to go over to the Sort and Filter arrow that we did before. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Custom Sort. Alright, and this allows you to do different levels of sorts. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here where it says Sort By, and I'm going to change that so that I can see the different fields here. And I'm going to change it to Branch. So it's going to sort by branch. I'm going to leave it on Cell Values, and I'm going to change this to A to Z. So that'll be the first thing it does. It takes the column that has branch in it and it alphabetizes it. It goes A to Z. I'm going to add a level. After it sorts this first one, then it will do a sort based off of that first one. So I'm going to go down to Then By, and I'm going to do Specialty. Alright, so it's going to be what we call an intermediate sort key. I'm going to leave it on Cell Values, and I'm going to do this one A to Z as well. And I'm going to add one more level. Alright, so this one's going to be the Supervisor Review, and it's going to be largest to smallest. Alright, so when I click OK, this is what happens. Alright, my first column that I sorted was Branch, and you can see that it's in alphabetical order. Then what it did is it moved to Specialty, and it took the area that's here, these 5, and then it sorted those 5 in alphabetical order according to Specialty. And then once it did that, it moved over to the rating, the Supervisor. Let's see, which column is it? Supervisor Review? Yeah. It sorted the Supervisor Review from largest to smallest based on these individual items. So it sorted the different categories and went largest to smallest. Alright, so that's how you do a custom sort on different levels. Alright, another thing you can do is you can query a table. And that's just using a lot of the auto filters and sorting by different criteria. And that just means you have some type of logical rule that kind of tests the data to figure out what needs to be displayed. So the process of filtering records based on one or more filter criteria is called a query. So I'm going to go over to the account values column and click this arrow. Alright, and they have filter options here down below. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to choose an option here first of all. I'm going to do smallest to largest to sort that through, and then I'm going to do a filter. Alright, so we're going to D8. I'm going to click that arrow, and I am going to uncheck loans down here. Alright, so it's going to hide those options. When I click OK, you notice my table gets smaller. The information is still there, it's just hidden from view, but it's filtered the loans out so that you don't see them. Alright, if you go to G8 and click the arrow here, I am going to only show excellent ratings. So I'm going to uncheck fair, good, and poor and click OK, and now I only see the excellent. So you can see you have options for sorting things through. This is very useful when you're trying to pinpoint certain information. You can filter other things out so that you're only looking at what you would look at that given moment. If you want to remove a filter, it's pretty easy to do. There's a couple different ways to do it. If you click anywhere in the table and go to your Data tab, you have a clear button here. And if you clear it, clears out all your filters and all your sorting. Alright. You also have the option for doing a search string, and that means you can put in some text to look for specific text when you're looking for things. So if I go over to my name column, you have a search box here. Alright, in that box I can type in a name, and type in yes, and hit OK, and it's only going to show me the records that have that last name. And that's using what we call a search string. And there are a couple different things you can do. If you're having problems figuring out exactly what you need to find, you can type in part of a word to kind of do wildcard characters. And you use a question mark and an asterisk when you use those. And the book kind of talks about that a little bit. Alright. And then doing auto filters is another way you can query a table using a custom filter. Not all queries are exact numbers, and sometimes it's a range of numbers that you need. So you can actually do ranges of numbers when you're querying. Alright, so I'm going to go over to F8. So maybe we should clear that out first. Yeah, I'm going to click the clear button real quick. I'm going to go to F8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a range. So if you'll notice you have number filter options here. Alright, so you can kind of establish a range of numbers. Alright, so I'm going to go down to, let's see. What do I want to do? Well, let's do the custom filter. Alright, so this gives you the ability to do ranges. So I want to do a number that's greater than or equal to, and then that number is going to be 7. And then I want to do is less than or equal to number 9. So anything between 7 and 9 should show in my table. And then I click OK. And those are the only things you'll see. Alright. So that's how you do the custom filter as well. If you want to turn off auto filters, that's pretty easy to do. You go to your Data tab, you click this filter button here, and you'll notice that your little arrows go away. So it shuts off the auto filter options. If you don't want to use them, I'm going to turn them back on. And we'll move on to the next step.